It is a pleasure to have with us the most erudite personalities of international repute to speak on today's topic. Mr. Krishna Agnihotri, Senior HR Manager, TCS. He is an experienced HR professional with over 15 years of strategic and business HR experience, with a decade of TCS encompassing gamut of talent management, leadership development, talent engagement, change management, D&I, and mentoring. We also have with us Mr. Pronob, Jyoti Chetia, Director HR, Asia Pacific Region, Volvo Group, Trucks Operations, Service Market Logistics. He's a mentor, thought leader, HR practitioner. He has currently been working with senior business leadership team of Volvo Group in diversified global environment on people and leadership development initiatives of Volvo Group, covering Asia Pacific region, that is India, China, South Korea, Singapore, Australia, Thailand, and Indonesia for the last 8 years. We also have with us Mr. Ashish Gakrey, founder HR Shapers, who is also a moderator for today's session. As guest speakers, I'm sure they will encourage our students and they will learn a lot from their varied experience. I would like to take this opportunity to express my views on today's topic of today's webinar. As is evident, COVID-19 will fundamentally change the way humanity works and socializes. The COVID-19 crisis will be a catalyst to unprecedented changes in every industry. Every industry will be forced to reform and restructure in order to transform into the new realities that will emerge in the post-COVID-19 era. The education sector is no exception at all. As we know, many industries have suffered badly in the COVID-19 crisis, like hospitality, tourism, transportation. Likewise, there will be a great deal of changes that will happen in the wake of COVID-19 in the education sector as well. The education sector has also dramatically shifted to new platform, that is of online teaching. Consumers have tested the efficiency of learning online during the lockdown, and this will continue post the lockdown as well. Lots of schools have come online because you cannot conduct offline classes due to social distancing. Large tech companies have high quality products for schools. We will see that education will embrace the digital world in the fastest and largest scale possible. Education institutions will come of age and traditional teaching standards will become a thing of the past, paving way for newer technology-driven teaching methods. And the impact of this change will be seen in all sections of the education sector, right from preschool to higher education. The internet-based education will be a reality in the post-COVID-19 era, offering flexibility of learning to students and flexibility of teaching to teachers. The cost of education will also become cheaper and accessible to a larger section of the society. And I'm sure as we move forward, there will be a lot of innovative views that will be discussed by our guest speakers of today's webinar. Now I wrap up by giving some of my out-of-box ideas to all those participants who want to do well in terms of accepting the challenges and adapting to the new realities of the changed world around us post-COVID-19. Reinvent yourself by learning new skills, obtaining new accreditations and certifications. Show your readiness to adapt to the new rules of the game. The key to navigating the post-COVID-19 world entails working hard to show your value, preparing to reinvent yourself, taking on short-term learning, sessions that offer to enhance your experience, skills, and knowledge. This will stand in a good state to face the challenges in the field of education and other sectors in the post-COVID-19 scenario. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now it's my pleasure and honor to present a brief profile of our first guest speaker of today's session, Mr. Krishna Agnihotri, sir. Mr. Krishna Agnihotri, Senior HR Manager, TCS, is an experienced HR professional with over 15 years of strategic and business HR experience with a decade with TCS encompassing gamut of talent management, leadership development, talent engagement, change management, D&I, and mentoring programs. He is currently working in UK as a talent manager and senior HR business partner responsible for retail business. He has a Bachelor of Science and Master's degree in Labor Laws and Personal Management from Lucknow University. Welcome to IES, sir. Now over to you, Mr. Krishna Agnihotri, sir, to commence the session, please.
Thank you so much, Astha. Thank you, the esteemed dignitaries, my dear friend Ashish for the opportunity, and my esteemed co-panelist Pronob, and my dear friends and students. It's an honor and opportunity to speak, in a very difficult and unpredictable times that we are living into. And I would request Ashish to sort of set a premise and move forward in more of an interactive way, talking about the disruptions which were already there that industry has been facing because of the advent of new technologies as such. During this industrial revolution, which is the 4.0 as we talk about in the industry, with the advent of social media, the mobile, the analytics and cloud, and it's a common acronym within the industry that we talk about, SMAC, as we know, has already been creating a lot of disruption. And then we find ourselves in the midst of this unprecedented, unimaginable kind of a situation across the globe, and we still either responding or recovering across the globe with this pandemic situation. And we are yet to see the thriving stage, but I am a firm believer that as a human race, we have always survived, whether it is the Great Recession of 2008 or in the previous years also, if there are any other challenges which are there. And we will come out as winners from this particular situation which is at hand as well. So with that, I will hand over to Ashish to open up and let us through his moderating bits with how he would like us to respond or share our views.
Yeah, thanks, Krishna. So that was nice welcome note. Asta, let's have an opening remark from Pronob, and then we can start. Yeah,
Okay.
you can introduce him, and then I will take it ahead once he's done. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Asta,
Thank you, sir.
just ask Bhupchand that there is a lot of echo. He can kindly ask him to mute all the participants except the speakers. Asta, are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
सर
Please
सभी
request
लोग
Bhupchand.
म्यूट हैं, सभी लोग म्यूट हैं सर।
अच्छा, ठीक है, चलिए।
Now, I would like to present a brief profile of our second guest speaker of today's session, Mr. Pronob Chetia, sir. Mr. Pronob Chetia, Director HR, Asia Pacific Region, Volvo Group Trucks Operations, Service Market Logistics, is currently located at Singapore and has an MBA in HR and Bachelor of Science in Chemistry. He has a vast 18 years of professional and management experience. He is an awardee of Talent Listing 2018 at 100 Top Global HR Minds, World HRD Congress. He is a strategic advisor for a successful startup, Automobile, besides being active board member of a renowned MBA school in India, ISME Bangalore. He is a member of National HRD Network in India and plays an active leadership role within NHRD Bangalore chapter for academia engagement activities, especially competence development programs for MBA students. He is a mentor, thought leader, HR practitioner, trained HR professional, and currently working closely with senior business leadership team of Volvo Group in a diversified global environment on people and leadership development initiatives of Volvo Group covering Asia Pacific region, that is India, China, South Korea, Singapore, Australia, Thailand, and Indonesia for last 8 years. Pronob Sir brings strategic HR expertise in the area of end-to-end HR functional skills, leadership coaching, and organizational competence development expertise, which in turn helps leaders to deliver business imperatives in challenging market conditions. He is experienced in global HR projects, M&A and global HR strategy development, and specializes in conceptualizing and driving HR solutions in Asia. Pronob Sir has started his career in Gakrey Industry Private Limited and worked in companies like Tata Motors and TVS Motors before joining Volvo Group India as corporate HR manager in the year 2008. He strongly believes in continuous learning and people relationship and is an avid follower of the book The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. Welcome to IES, sir. Now over to you, Mr. Pronob Jyoti Chetia, sir, to commence the session, please.
Thank you very much. I think it was a little long introduction about myself. Sometimes it is good to hear about me from people like you. But I would say that I am from a very small place called Golaghat in
Pranavji, there is a sound issue at your end. Can you please raise the volume, if possible?
Maybe what I can do, I can put my headphone. Maybe I can just give me a second. Sorry guys, give me 1 minute. Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Very good. Sorry for the interruptions. Hi Asta, thank you so much for the very nice introductions. And what I was telling that I'm from Assam and I'm a very simple HR person. And then, thank you for welcoming me in a very good way. Thank you, Ashish. I always tell Ashish is one of the highly networked guy in the world, and very good friend of all of us. And of course, good to know Krishna and all of you and dear students. So I think we have a very good, plan today. And my role is to support this, learning process. And I'm with Ashish. I prepared a short, presentation also when there is a time, and I will share my views. Thank you so much for the lovely introductions once again. Yeah, Ashish.
Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to present a brief profile of our moderator for today's session, Mr. Ashish Gakrey, sir, founder, HR Shapers. Mr. Ashish Gakrey, speaker, globally connected, social media influencer, blogger, Gen Z expert, mentor, coach, and a techie HR. He has a 20 years of corporate diversified exposure from IT, ITES, telecom industry, and having rich experiences of organizations like Capgemini, Teleperformances, erstwhile Circo Global, Loop Mobile, erstwhile BPL Mobile, Grid Consultants, Grey Cells, and Max Search. His expertise lies in HR operations, HR generalist, talent management, talent sourcing and talent acquisition, learning and development, PMS, motivation, employee engagement, retention, HR policies, HR processes, audit, compliance, and HR shared services. Welcome to IES, sir. Now over to Mr. Ashish Gakrey, sir, for moderating the question and answer session. So please.
Thank you, Asa. I just wanted to do audio check. Is it proper? Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Thanks, Pronob and Krishna. Thanks for joining all the way from Singapore and UK. It's a different time zone, so this is one of the benefits. Everyone, those who are there, I think we are on Facebook Live as well. So this is the reality. This is the virtual game. One person from Singapore, another from UK. I am from Mumbai, and this is happening in actually for Bhopal-based university. So this is how education part is being changed and going to be. At a time you can see various people from various places coming together, and people are sharing all the knowledge and other things. Great. So topic is very interesting. Let's come to topic here. Now what we are saying is, what is the scenario of education sector in COVID era? Okay, challenges and opportunity. So we would like to break up, in two-part education sector. One is actually the education ecosystem we will talk about, Pronob and Krishna. And second part, we will talk about, how this will have an impact on, job opportunity and what are the skills required, which are the commonly, webinar used in university, college, and institute. And I'm sure, by now, the student must have been fed up with all such webinar, but it's kind of refresher course always. And we need it this time because we are going through. I won't say we are going through very bad phase, but very challenging and unique. That's what I can say. Okay, so I'm stopping myself here. Let's start the Q&A part. Okay, so let me start with Krishna here. Asa, can you give a share screen access to Pronob? Because he will have something to show during the.
Ashish, we have already given access to Pronob. Pronob can confirm.
Okay.
Pronob?
Okay.
Yeah, I think I have. Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's begin. So my first question to Krishna. Krishna, welcome joining from London. I think it's a 3 o'clock there, right?
No, it is afternoon time. We are
Okay.
half 12. So,
Okay, great. So the first question, Krishna, over to you. Share some challenges because we are talking about the education sector. So share some major change, expected in education sector. Something must have been happened by now or something already in process. And how this COVID actually, reinventing the education sector. Overall education sector, we are talking about the ecosystem.
okay, thank you, Ashish. A big hello again from London to all of you. It's the afternoon time, so very good evening to all of you who are joining and anybody who's in the different time zone. The question on the changes which are expected in the education sector, if I can say, see, we were already seeing the technology changing or disrupting each sector, and education is not untouched. But if we really see, we have been living centuries old the ecosystem, whether it is mortar build or the chalk talk kind of the system that we have been operating into, with the advent of education technologies coming in and shaping or enabling the sector as a whole. But I cannot say that this has happened for the entire ecosystem. There is still a huge investment and a larger ecosystem base build is required. And that is definitely going to change as we see post the COVID era. Because as you can see, any which way, there is a paradigm shift, in overall learning dynamics across workplaces, as I can see. And I can see within my organization, I can vouch for the industry. And my co-panelist, of course, would add something from the other industries as well in terms of how this overall change is coming in. And this pandemic, which created a kind of a situation with us, this also provide an opportunity to re-examine the architecture and the ecosystem of the education in India. And while a few developed countries may be racing a little bit ahead with respect to the technology, the online education and a few things, we are still to catch up on many fronts. And we, of course, are leading or sort of, capturing those opportunities which are being created by this, situation which is there. So you can see that technology is going to take, the center stage in terms of revolutionizing the whole learning landscape, and the education institutions also will need to relook or rather redefine the curriculum, in their delivery mechanism, as well as ensuring engagement level, because we have seen, it works best when you are in a face-to-face interaction. And I would have loved really to be in company of all of you face-to-face, but it's the reality. We are into different time zones, connected on a invisible wall, and while we all can still feel the presence of human interaction, there is a touch part which is still going to be missed, at least for a near future. So these are some of the key changes, has been coming up. And already talking to you, Ashish, about the other, which was already there in the industry in form of the digital disruption, which was already, shaping the way the traditional work was being delivered. And as we can see, the focus was more towards automation. So if you talk about entry-level jobs being minimized because there will be a robot. And if you talk about the current times, probably it will be more favorable, to have a robot who can actually front face, and we can avoid any kind of, spread of the disease across. So these are some of the changes which also will come up into our educational system as well in the times to come.
Yeah, thanks, Krishna. So I think, yeah, you touch upon the engagement and other parts. So that's important, because classroom and virtual is somewhat different. I can share my experience of the daughter who attends the class every day. She's in 4th standard, and teacher says, "Student, please put up your video." Okay. And I'm sure of this practice maybe in the university as well. The classes which is happening now, put up the video. So I don't know what is the objective to put up the video, or some people but some people show up the video like this. So there's a different new normal. I won't say right or wrong, but over a period of time you'll understand. Okay, so I come to Pronob now. So here is the question, because Krishna touched upon the engagement. I'd like to drill upon the engagement, because that's very important. Everything on the virtual and online sound good, but how do we really engage? The way we keep talking about how do we engage, employee in the organization. So Pranav, question to you, what should be the educator approach in engaging student in a forced virtual setup, like video conferencing, Zoom, and whichever platform institute is using, university using, student using. So basically, online teaching, virtual teaching. What can be the approach more in engaging student?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. My personal view is that I think we have to be little, humble to relate to our, society, from where we come from. And Ashish and everybody, that I work for Volvo, and Volvo is one of the highly technological company. But my personal experience coming all the way from Golaghat, to Pune, then to Mumbai, then to Bangalore, and then to Singapore, I believe that the education is more a social process. When I say it is a social process, the student, the learner, always like to interact with somebody. Now the question is that, can robot or can the technology can replace that? My answer is, up to a certain moment, yes, but but we need to recognize that we are part of the universe, and there is an ecosystem, and there is a society, and there is a community, and things like that. So I would say that education sector probably need to look more from the hybrid point of view, meaning that technology should be the enabler to improve the interaction between the professor and the student. Technology need to bring certain tools, where today, we can interact, me from Singapore, you from Mumbai. There we have a fantastic Zoom tool, which is bringing. But can Zoom develop my personal competence? Can Zoom develop my knowledge on a certain engineering, subject? Probably answer is not, right? Because fundamentally, we always believe that the knowledge is the base of our, career, and so a student definitely has to work very hard, whether with technology or without technology. So henceforth, I personally feel that, whether we talk about machine learning, whether we talk about artificial intelligence, robot coming and engaging, the fundamental of a student, developing, the concept clarity is very, very important. So an example, an engineer definitely need to know what is thermodynamics, right? Similarly, HR person, I definitely need to know what is recruitment lead time. whatever the tool I use for the recruitment, but I definitely need to know how to reduce the recruitment lead time. So I think these are, something where we need to be smart and see what type of blended learning experience that we can bring to the students. So that's a very quick, view from me.
Great. Even we have seen one message which is there on the social media. It's viral. That there is a conversation of I think mother and employee working from home, and mother or old lady is telling ki, okay, guys, this is not a working from home, but you are getting into my house. Okay,
Yes, yes, yes.
So better you behave properly rather than you tell us to behave properly. What is happening in the background, noise and all. Yeah. So just because of the sympathy, that message is going viral. But true, this is true to some extent. Corporate and university or the whatever, whosoever is in online, they are getting into privacy of the individual. You cannot imagine, Kishore sir and everyone. With all this, we can easily see how your home look like. Yeah, the background, height,
100%. 100%.
small, big, properly maintained or not, and the way people are sitting, background, everything. I mean, these are the small thing, people don't notice. And obviously, people need to have a training also when you sit and, your background should be very clear, not too long, because if somebody is walking, it can easily be seen and all, because it can disturb you rather than, entire people who are on the call. Good. Pronob, so thank you so much. I come to Krishna now. Krishna also, fine, we know, okay, everything is happening now here in terms of, that online education and other things, but let's focus on now skill set and which kind of jobs will be available in the market. And when we talk about the jobs, Krishna, I'm more specific about the industry, because there are 50% industries are down, maybe 70%, but there are some industries, they are not down, even some are coming up like anything. There are some industries which are developed new industries. So what's your view? Which are the industry actually, emerged like anything and will continue to be there for next 6 to 9 months?
See, if I can clearly see, and I think a lot has been said and has been written already about it. But the clear impact, as we see, BS Yadav Sir also spoke about it. The clear impact definitely is there on the travel, transportation, and hospitality sector. But the entire picture is not, of course, gloomy, and we can definitely see there is a traction, or there is at least sustainable opportunities will exist in sectors like pharmaceutical. You talk about the medicine, the food processing units which are there. While I can say retail, when we talk about retail, if you talk about the clothing and home business, that definitely will have a certain impact. But at the same time, if you talk about the food business, and as I handle the retail business in UK, I'm talking from my own experience. One of the large customer that we deal with, they are into a dual kind of a business, and I can clearly see their major focus was towards the clothing and home, the kitchenware and other set, while the food was quite exclusive to a certain set. Like in UK, generally people just take lunch on the go, and those kind of exclusive things which they were selling. And now suddenly, because of the lockdown, what we saw is all other kind of business just completely shut down. You have only critical services which are operating, and food is coming into one of that area, which is necessary for the community, sort of requirement, and that's where they are operating probably less than say 30% or 40% revenue that they were otherwise generating earlier. So that's a kind of a shift which is coming in. And if you look at the sector with respect to the e-learning or the gamification or the online gaming, there probably is going to be a lot more traction. There will be people are going to be at home or maybe working from remote locations. So definitely these are some of the industries which will definitely generate sizable employment in near future. while we definitely see that grappling of the situation and coming in terms with the real picture, the industries around, particularly the transportation or the travel or tourism is definitely will have a sizable impact, at least in the near future.
Okay, so that's wonderful view. Just follow-up question, Krishna, if you can just quickly, perhaps in a 60-second, would you like to touch upon, is there any new skill set required in such kind of industries, or skill set will not be changed?
No, I think we were talking about this earlier, Ashish, and in fact, Pronob also touched upon it briefly. So we have to understand how this entire shift is turning, and we are seeing that digital is the disruptor. We talk about sector, irrespective, and while we love that human interaction, that human interfacing, we definitely are going to see, or we are rather seeing it, that we are coexisting at the moment with chatbots, we are coexisting with robots. So we definitely are going to need the relevant skills which are important. And I'll give you an example. If we have, say, management students in our session today, and we had a traditional approach of, a marketing as a stream, for example, and we will see the current marketing, if you talk about in a traditional way, will get impacted because you will not be approaching it in a similar way. But at the same time, if you look at the digital marketing, that will have a lot of traction in the current times. And if you have the right skills, you will be able to leverage the ecosystem which is available for your own career enhancement. So that's one of the example, if I can quote.
I think, yeah, that's very relevant. Pronob, I come to you because this is now again very specific about the skill set. Do you see difference, geographical wise, okay, something needed as a new skills for a student I'm talking about in Singapore, but not needed in UK, not needed in Mumbai, India. Touch upon overall view as well, which are the new skills you see needed for a student?
Yeah, actually, it is a very, very big topic by itself. So I have prepared 2 slides, just to talk about this new skill, because somehow I knew you are going to ask me this. So is it okay? I just share 2 slides and then I take this question. Is that okay, Ashish?
Yeah, Pranab, just be little louder also, because
okay.
Lowering down, be louder. Yeah, you can share the screen. Yes, yeah.
Okay. So can you see my screen?
Yes, please.
Yeah, very good, very good. So let me go to a slide which I have prepared. So this is a slide which I have prepared for today's session. Now, what you see here is an employability skill, not a new skill. Of course, when we say employability skill, and that this is a skill needed by an individual, people like you and me, to be employable today and tomorrow. Now, when I say today and tomorrow, every 5 years, the skill gets changed, right? The way coding used to happen before in IT industry, it is completely different today and will be completely different after 5 years down the line. However, in the current context, when I take back, little bit to your original questions, is there some normalcy? Is there some, standardization? I would say that these are the 10 new skills, which are relevant in Indian market, in Singapore, and probably across the globe also. And probably, Krishna, you can, tell me from the UK perspective whether it is relevant or not after I explain. So which are those 10 new skills? So it is in the screen. Adaptability and flexibility, this is the change management. So COVID is, I would say God is helping us to change our mindset, right? To move in a new direction, and the change is constant in life. Adaptability and flexibility. Data literacy, we know a lot of data, people are talking about big data, but at the same time, it is very important for a student, for a professor, for me, to understand how to, make that data meaningful towards certain product development services and so on. Critical thinking, as you know, without a without a good thinking process, the data we get is not relevant. So we really need to, have a very focused critical thinking. And probably I can tell that you should do morning yoga to have a good critical thinking. Tax savviness, I think, Krishna, you spoke about, and tax savviness is nothing new, Industry 4.0 was telling everybody, for last 5 years, that you need to develop artificial intelligence, you need to develop, machine learning, you need to develop, and today, COVID has actually, motivated the tax savviness that, even my kid or your kid is probably more, savvy in the technical tools and so forth. Emotional intelligence. We know that human being is, extremely powerful. We are more powerful than machines, and it is we who, design, develop, innovate, and bring the machine to the market. But at the same time, there are emotions. We need to appreciate, we need to have a respectful relationship with our colleagues, with our professors, with our parents, and the, members in the society. And that is the emotional intelligence. At the hardest, time, at the, difficult situation, how do we react to a problem? Leadership skill, it is always, there. Without, leadership, skill, whether you are a auto rickshaw wala, whether a CEO, whether an HR manager, it is must. Creativity and innovation. We can have a fantastic idea, but how to implement the idea is the innovation in a simple way. And that is relevant in India, in Singapore, in US, and so forth. Cultural intelligence. You see Indian demographics, how big we are, right? What is the demography of cultural differences what we have? I come from Assam, study in Pune, worked in Mumbai. I have to be very mindful to understand, and so relevant for me to be in Singapore. Collaboration and team working skills. I think our schooling system is really showing how one can be collaborate between parents and the teacher. And finally, the judgment and complex decision making. So I think these are some 10 new skills. I personally following, and I have read it. I have done some research. Of course, later on I can go a little bit more deeper into some of the skills you want. And that's my very quick, dashboard for you, Ashish and my friend.
So I think I completely agree. And the additional question which was there, whether the relevance is basis the geography, I think Pronob has summarized it so well. And these are the employability skills. So we should not be looking at in terms of which part of the world we are going to be. These are going to be critical for us. And if I summarize it in an ABC format, I believe adaptability, definitely Pronob has spoken about, but I'll add another A to that, or rather 2 A's to that, is in terms of the articulation. So my message to the students would be that whatever you are learning or whatever you are doing in terms of project, whatever experience that you are gaining by being into the ecosystem, you must be able to articulate that clearly when you are going for your career options in the industry, or when you're coming up to the corporate world. That's one aspect. Adaptability is definitely the core, reason being because we will require, and we have seen, if I take example of the IT industry, we will have graduates who will be coming and being trained on Java skill, and the project will be expected them to start coding into .NET. Now, if that adaptability and that mindset is not there, it is going to be absolutely challenging for the individual to develop and showcase that they are on to the challenge, and they will simply just take it hands-on and move. So that's one of the aspect which is there, which is not only just from the business standpoint, but as an individual standpoint is coming, is towards the agile. So we need an agile mindset or an agile methodology in moving forward. So the tasks that were happening in the past, we need to be broken down into simple steps, and we should be simply just moving on. So those are some of the A's which will be adding on to the employability part, which just Pronob very well defined it over here. Other aspect I will just touch upon on the B part is about the business sense or the business knowledge that you will necessarily need when you are going through for career options. So do a bit of research. That's just a common understanding that we must develop. Whatever industry that you are going for, whatever organization that you are going for, or for that matter, if you have taken an employment, try and dig out a little deeper in terms of what are the customer challenges and problems which are there, so that you are not just only delivering a code, you are understanding the real challenge of the customer and think about how an additional value can be created over there. That's number 2. And the number 3 is, I think it has been already there, while critical thinking and the problem solving and those aspects are absolutely critical. The fundamental of it is going to be the communication. So you have to simply be precise and very well articulating what you want to communicate. And that is going to be the core, whether you talk about any country, any region, any geography. These are also going to be an additional touch upon to what Pronob have just added, if that resonates with you all.
Yeah, thanks, both of you. I think nicely captured by, Pranav and followed by Krishna in summarize. So I would say, yes, you need to know everything, okay? But the main important part, what Krishna was saying, how do we, whether can you say you know that or not? How to say is very important. What to say also important. What not to say is also important. End of the day, you need to know, okay, guys, I'm able to communicate what I know. I'm able to convince you what you are telling me to do or what I want to do. That's very important in today's. And virtual it became more important actually, because sometimes you don't see the face, right? So because body language is also very important when you appear for interview or talk to someone. You can easily change the answer and other thing. Great. So we'll take one more question, guys, from both of you, and then we'll go to open Q&A. Yeah, because I'm looking at the clock right now. Okay, so here I come back to Krishna. Now coming back to education part, Krishna, because somehow there is a burden which is coming on the parents also. Okay, as I said, this people are invading into my privacy. So what's your views on that? So the question maybe directly I can say, how this e-learning, virtual learning, remote learning impacting parents.
I think Ashish, this is going to be multifold, and I'll take you one of the personal example. I was talking to my brother-in-law a few days back, and I have this nephew who is about 6-7 years of age, and he started complaining that many a times he sees a blank screen, and probably there were other difficulties already, and this additional online education, the emphasis on you have to be on tablets, you have to be on laptop, you need to complete certain tasks either on mobile or the relevant technologies which are available, is adding up to the pressure. Now you can't really say that, oh no, you will not learn, you will not devote these many hours. And on top of that, the other aspect which are there is, suppose both parents are working, how are you going to manage the time, in terms of focusing? Because earlier, at least, we were relaxed that between 9 to 5 or 9 to 6, or whatever that time frame was there, we have our teachers, we have a group of learned, faculty or the specific professionals to take care of the need of the child or the kid. Now that has tremendously opened a new sort of a setup wherein not only just you have to manage your own professional sphere, but you also will have to see the development part, because somebody else is not there. And I was talking about the engagement part. That aspect is now then being coming back to the parents or the guardians at this moment of time. Another aspect, as we see, you also can see a bit of a digital divide, Ashish, because affordability is going to be a key. Now, all of the technology, while certain things might be easily accessible and available, not everything is so easily available when it comes to technology. Sometimes it needs a bit of investment. And I also come from a very modest background. My father being, a primary school teacher, and then whatever humble background that he has given, I simply can relate to the challenges of a student or a kid who basically will be coming up from a small town, trying to see with minimal resources, build the career or the future, you will see that that's additionally adding up. So for example, if you were not needing a laptop or needing it only for a few practical purposes, you have a necessity to have it now. You can't really avoid that. While majority of the things may still work on the laptop, you still will need a laptop or maybe other aspect or a good camera or proper equipments to speak properly when you are attending lectures or other things. So these are some of the aspects which, because of the overall situation and the lockdown and things like that, it is going to add to additional pressure which is there. Other aspect is some sort of a fear, so fear of being left alone, which is there, that whether my child is going to be left behind in the race. These are the anxiety fears that a parent can go through. When in a social setup, we know that, there are institutions, there are, professional bodies are available and they are taking care of that aspect. You probably feel more relaxed in those setup. But when we are moving towards an isolated delivery mode, many things that also can be a relevant fear which may come. The other aspect is whether in future, at least in near future, the parents may not be fully comfortable sending their kids out from a smaller town to the bigger towns at the period we see that the threat is minimized to a basic level. So these are some of the aspects, if I can elaborate, are going to be impacting in at least near future.
Krishna, I think you rightly touch upon one of the part, which is, when student there in the campus, it's kind of, I won't say the problem of the university or, institute, but parents are relaxed. Okay, fine, or student in the class, you are there in the laptop, all what you're doing and all like XYZ, So yeah, that's perhaps, it will take time to be adjusted. And another point so here the self-discipline will come. That's what I think, so parents and the institute and university need to teach you how you should be self-disciplined till the time classes are going on or you need to attend the classes. Great point. So we'll come to Pronob now. I wanted to touch upon one more point, Krishna, what you said, but I just missing out on that. So Pronob, this is the last question here. So do you think, this was the long overdue pending as far as education sector is concerned? Something was supposed to happen earlier or later, but it's happening now. What's your views on this?
Thank you. Okay, maybe I should, light it down, and I want all of you to come to my hometown in Assam for a, some moment of time, and I will come back to your question, Ashish. But before that, let me go back a little bit to Krishna's one single point. And of course, first thing I fully agree, it's a pandemic situation, and, health and well-being is the most important, part that we need to take care. But I will tell you my personal story outside the context, and I will come back. After 12, I wanted to come to Pune to, do BSc chemistry. And my parent and everybody used to tell, Pronob, from Gulaghat, will you go to Pune? You will become a drug addict if you go to Pune. Right, and Pune is a city, they talk English, they talk Hindi, and up to 12th standard, I never spoke Indian English. And, everybody in my family, nobody came out from my hometown, out of Assam, and I am the first person, who came out of Assam. And my mother told me, do you think that you will do well in your life? Then I said, yes. Then mother told me that if you think that you will, do well in your life, you go ahead. And of course, I did not have money, and my mama gave me 10,000 rupees that time to take admission in publishing college. And I came to Pune without knowing English and Hindi. And I relate the same thing with pandemic today. People have got so much of fear. My fear was to become a drug addict, but I never become a drug addict. So what I'm saying is that sometimes, parent, has to believe on the student, their own son and own children, and more importantly, the student have to have the self-management, the student has to have that, little bit of challenge that I will do something in life. So I think it has to be, balanced, student taking own personal responsibility, self-discipline, and the parent need to trust that my kid will do well, irrespective of whether there is a digital solution is there, not there. So that is point number. Point number two, coming back to you, saying that, yes, I personally see that there is a big, revolution coming in the education sector. Example, probably going forward, probably Harvard University or IIM Bangalore will be probably defeated by company like LinkedIn, by company like Facebook, by company like probably I heard today that Jio is coming up with Jio Meet, right? Because so what is happening is that today is a world of data, today is a world of curation. Today is a world where me from the Singapore, I can do a mentoring to a particular student who is in Guwahati or who is in Bangalore, and I can develop his experiential learning all the way from Singapore by a very, very good personalized learning process of 6 months. So what he can do, the 10 student can, learn this subject in IES, University, and I can come as a mentor, which means that you can really leverage the technology. And of course, then it is always the part of the student. So the student has got many professors today. Earlier, a student used to have only one professor. Today, he has got multiple professors, multiple digital solutions, and henceforth, a revolution is going to come. And industry 4.0 is motivated enough. COVID has motivated industry 4.0 for much more investment, much deeper innovation, deeper implementation process, and companies are just waiting to jump back after 6 months. And at the same time, I want to say pandemic is a situational problem. It is not going to be there for next 10 years, 20 years, 100 years. I am sure some solution will come and we will move forward. So it is also a time to little bit of relax, but at the same time we have to be really prepared to jump back when the situation comes back. So I say that pandemic is a situational problem, is the biggest problem that the art have found it, and probably we are fortunate to experience and find a solution out of it.
Thanks, Pronob. Yeah, so yeah, you summarized that this was long pending, long due, because with virtual you can connect with any people, any point of time, and you can take online degree while sitting at your place. You don't need to go even in metro city. So Krishna, I told you one point. You touch upon the laptop. That is very important point. So even Kishore sir and I have seen in many of the college, institute, university, they provide the laptop. Roshan sir, right? They provide the laptop to student. And if online education will start where you are going to work and study from your place, so this will be less burden for university and institute as well. But this will be additional burden for student. Yeah. So these are the point, some different point. It's plus and minus for both actually. Good. So I pause here our Q&A and I start the Q&A which is posted in the chat box.
Ashish ji?
Yeah.
I have a different question, if you permit. It can be taken up by Krishna, Pronob, or you also. See, you are talking of the laptops and all. We are all aware of the recent decision of IIT Mumbai, IIT Bombay, where they have decided there will be no classes for this complete session. Now, this is going to be followed by many other institutes. Laptop provision is a very small thing. It will be done by IIT Mumbai, it can be done by IES, it can be done, somehow the other things will be taken care of. But what about ergonomics? See, when we are working from home, when it comes to offices, I am sure you are HR guys, offices, they really take care of the ergonomics. But when we really work from home or study at home, those precautions or those gadgets or those comforts are not available. And not today, but there may be repercussions which may appear after a prolonged period. There may be ergonomics related issues which may come up, back pains or other so many issues. There has been no debate on this issue, or this has not been even highlighted or discussed. When we are talking of prolonged working from home or study at home, a kid, all of us were discussing 6-year kid, 7-year kid. Now just imagine sitting in front of a laptop. I'm sure कितना भी अच्छा setup हो, उसकी back straight नहीं रहेगी, उसकी eyes में issue होंगे. What about this? How to really make society aware of this?
Shall I take it? Because it is exactly happening to me only.
Yes, Pranav.
You know, I have a backache problem, okay? Of course, we are in Facebook Live now. Everybody will know Pronob has a backache problem. And for last 15 days, I have also got some eyesight. So I was telling, you know, Mosumi, my wife, saying that I need to go to a, you know, doctor. And today, you know what I did? I did yoga for the first time in my life. Today, I woke up at morning 6 o'clock, 30 minutes I did yoga. And I feel that yoga is something I have to continue to take care of me, because in current situation, I cannot go to doctor. You know, going to a clinic in today's situation itself is a problem. So my point is that I am trying to find my own solution to take care of myself, because it is me who have to live for my family. It is me who have to work for the Volvo, and it is me. I have 20, 30 years ahead. So the self-discipline, you know, coming back from the student and for me, whether I want to move forward and so forth, is super important. If I don't stick by myself, okay, nobody will come and help me, that I can tell you. Because in the current situation, in, you know, Singapore is one of the best in the medical science. But going to a doctor itself, you know, is a mental block today I have. So it's a very real problem. And I think that it is not only the laptop issue. If you see, our home is not made for, you know, office setup. We have a 2 BHK, 3 BHK. We are Indian family, 8 people together, and kids coming. My kids come and say that, you know, father, so many days and things like that. So it's a learning process, and I think, you know, we have to live by it, and we have to be a little creative, and that's why I brought creativity and innovation. You know, we have to be creative to manage our own family life, and we need to innovative, you know, to do morning yoga and, you know, take care of ourselves. So that's my very quick, you know, reflection.
Yeah, I think I fully agree, Pranav, with you. And what I wanted to also add on is the self-discipline part, which you said. It's absolutely resonate, because the thin line between the working hours and the personal life, when we are in a virtual setup and with the collaboration tools which are available, that has just you know, completely got you know, wiped out, if I would say so.
Yes.
So it is a 24/7 availability. The expectation is also there, because there is a Microsoft Teams, because there is a Zoom. I can access you, you know, in any time zone, any point in time. And what I've also seen on the other side, because of the pressure, you know, which is there, whether it is a societal pressure, whether it is the professional development pressure, or whatever, you know, those pressures are there. Ultimately, I've seen people responding, and I see many a times I get surprised that, you know, by being in UK, if I'm sending something a little late in the evening, the time zone in India probably will be further late, and I have seen a response coming back immediately from there, which means that people are accessing devices beyond the normal working hours, which otherwise would have happened. Now, it's a complete shift. And we also sometimes have to be quite mindful, at least in the office setup, as Kishorji was talking about, or in the school, you take, you know, scheduled breaks, which also many a times what we have seen is when we get into a rhythm, you have back-to-back calls, you're not able to come out. Many a times you probably are not realizing how many times you have skipped the scheduled lunch, which you otherwise would have taken. Or at least you had colleagues, so everybody said that let's go for lunch, and you walked a few steps away. Here you probably are sitting onto a desk or whatever kind of chair that you have at home, and then simply finish that. So those are some of the very, very important aspects that you brought up. And to be very honest with you, these are the questions which we are facing as an HR right now from employees, in terms of how we come up with policies, with support for people to be there in home for a longer duration. People had already situations like Pronob was talking about. You know, I probably was not revealing my own back pain issues, but it's quite evident, you know, and when I'm talking, it probably is hurting from somewhere. And should I say that? Probably I will not, but that's the reality. You know, you can't really go to a doctor, and you can't go to clinics. I mean, whether a physiotherapy or even chiropractic, you can't really have that at this point in time. So what can you do? Maintain a discipline is going to be the key. Do certain things for yourself, maintain a schedule, because otherwise if we had a school at or a institution to attend by 9 o'clock, we probably are getting up at 6:30, 7 o'clock and following a schedule to really reach it there because there is a lecture scheduled or because there is a joint meeting. Many a times what we would notice that you will be straight away waking up because you have worked late or you have been awake late in the night, and then you straight away joining the call rather than following the schedule which was otherwise probably would have been done. So those are kind of things which are also getting mixed up with the routine that we are following, and we will have to be cautious of that to avoid long-term issues.
Thank you, Pronob, and thank you, Krishna ji. Of course, these are the issues which need a larger discussion, larger perspective, right from the small kids to all of us. Thank you very much.
So like to share one thing, many corporate, I won't say many, but I have seen even in fact 2-3 posts where, employee has posted ki, thanks company for sending me the chair, on which I was sitting or arranging a chair, new chair, which is more comfortable than, I'm sitting anywhere in my home. So company has taken those kind of initiative also, sending a chair to actually employee home. Okay, great. So let's take the question. We are shooting overshooting the time. Okay, first question quickly. So Pronob and Krishna, let's take 3-4 questions quickly, summarize in less than 10-15 seconds. So here's the question which is more to do with higher study. People go for a higher study, and so there is a question: is this process going to be slow in terms of admission in the international university? Will it be temporary scenario or permanent?
I want to take this. I read an article today, of National University of Singapore, which is one of the top university in the world. The CEO of the university said that you can have international learning experience from home, meaning example today what you are having is an international learning experience. You don't have to come to Singapore, or you can study what is Indonesia. You can probably participate in some cultural activity which is related to the global exposure, because the international visits are not to see buildings and things like that, right? It is to learn something. So we need to find out those virtual mechanism to and that's why I say that you can have a global MBA sitting at home in a simple way. So yeah, so that's a very quick answer.
So I do the follow-up question, but I'm going to Krishna now. So it is similar to earlier question, but question is master degree, but the master degree will increase the employability if we do it from outside, which is overseas or abroad, as compared to Indian. Krishna, what do you say?
I think there will be two aspects to this question, Ashish, and I will touch upon both. See, the fundamental recognition of the online courses, or if you see the delivery mechanism wherein a part-time or in comparison to a full-time degree, as we used to take, the acceptance of that earlier in the industry probably has been less. But what we will see a trend or a change coming in would be in terms of what is the value that somebody is bringing up because of the knowledge that somebody has gained. Okay, and if you're able to showcase that, that is going to be a differentiator. Of course, there has been a clear demand and an aspiration to rather get courses or completion done from the recognized universities, because that definitely increases the employability. And there is a different section of the employment or say a recruitment drives which happens, and they are clearly for those specific institutions as such. But what we are also going to see is that everybody can now going to be leveraged by, because there is a LinkedIn learning, and if you're gaining the right set of skill sets while being into a tier 2 or a tier 3 city also, you probably will be coming into the mainstream, being able to gain an opportunity even if you are not able to sort of travel. So that's a change which is going to be definitely seen very, very soon.
Okay, great. So next question, okay, let me read out this from Arvaj. Most parents in current scenario would feel more comfortable if children continue to study in a place, and like parents will feel okay, it's closer to home. And till when do you feel this mindset will continue? So I take up this. I quickly answer. So it's Arbaj, and every student, there's more to do with how much you are in touch with the parents. Okay. Today, there are various ways you can get in touch with the parent. I don't need to tell you video call, WhatsApp video, and all. The worry is, when parents don't get a call for a week or for a month from the from a kid. So that's the answer. Next question coming from Kumari. Pronob, this is for you. I can take the liberty to give it to you. Due to the COVID, many portal websites have offer online, support to faculty, student, executive, free services using digital technology. Do you feel this is going to overtake traditional method of teaching and learning? And what are the expectations in terms of employability? I mean, online courses will have value when you recruit the people versus full time or kind of thing.
Yeah, see, I think this question also is your previous point of this revolution in education, industry, and definitely it is a game changer. And I spoke about blended learning, and I spoke about the importance of online learning sitting at home, right? So of course it is coming, and people have to quickly adopt and take it forward and so forth. However, I again want to tell my friends, all the students who are at 20 years and 21, 22 years doing MBA and so forth, that you cannot skip the fundamental understanding of the subject. Now, whether that's subject knowledge you get from your books, from online learning, or from your professor, it's just a methodology. Okay, so online learning is just a methodology. Online learning itself does not develop your skill set. So it relates to your career aspiration. It relates to what are the strengths what we have. It relates to what are some of the job opportunity that you feel that you will get in your nearby place and things like that. So, but at the high level, yes, it is going to change the traditional method of teaching, and it is going to change a professor waiting for the student in the classroom from morning 10 o'clock to 11:30, and it was always there when I studied, right? It was always like that. That is going to change. So professor has to be a little bit more interactive to bring those digital tools, bring probably Ashish inside the classroom by having an experiential learning. So one has to use the technology to enable the learning process. This is how I want to say. But technology cannot replace the strong education system, because I always say education is a part of our culture. Education is part of our social process. However, technology is going to enable whoever take the technology or the new skills would be the champion and move forward. Others will also move forward, because the art and globe is so big that there is a space of everybody. So all are winners for me. All the students doing MBA, you will get a fantastic life today or tomorrow. It's just the perspective how we take it forward.
Yes, I think you are right. Over a period of time, it won't matter whether online or full time. It's what you know actually. Are you able to say? Are you able to speak up? Are you able to convince? That's more important. Okay, last question here. So this goes to Krishna. Krishna, you are in UK. Let's assume you get a 5 team member who are joining new. Their joining formality happening online. Okay, yeah, and they are being appointed as a buddy. I mean, you are the mentor for them. But while in the entire process, personal touch and the connection, the engagement is missed out, and this will continue, right? This virtual training, virtual induction, actually, virtual onboarding, this will continue for some time. Yeah, so what's your, is there any tip you like to give to new joiner can build up a good rapport, build up a good connection with colleague or maybe boss?
I think the process is going to be both ways, Ashish. And as I can see, there is a tremendous focus from the organizations and particularly from the HR and managers put together in terms of engaging, the newcomers who are coming. And that process is, I mean, it has already been happening, wherein you start engaging with the students when they are at college, when the offer has already been sort of rolled out, but they have not joined. So before joining also, that pre-engagement already start, and in the current times, of course, we will be into a virtual setup, but that engagement part is going to be a key. And there has been never as much as focus as it is now, as I can tell you. Okay. And simple examples, and we are say a 50 member HR team, and I'll tell you some of the a very basic example of how that whole engagement and the personal connectivity brings. Okay, so when we got into this whole setup of COVID, everybody was stuck into different locations. We are not coming to office. And then we came into as an agile group to solve the problems which are there at hand, and they are multifold problems. Okay, so a simple example of connectivity is somebody started sharing a picture, a memorable picture with a story. Okay, and we started seeing it from pictures which are quite personal, and you otherwise might not have seen somebody when opening up and saying something, but they saw that there is a safe space. People are empathetic and they are listening to what they have to say, and then relating with it because many others might have a similar situation. And that has created such a fundamental bonding, even if you are walls apart, is phenomenal. And that exercise is going on a weekly calls. Every time we do about a 2-minute simple share by somebody, heard by everyone, resonated by everybody, and then we move on to the regular operational tasks which are there. But that's such a beautiful initial opening up, which provide space to an individual to be part of a larger team and be accepted as to who they are. And you also then feel that, yes, you're part of a larger team. And these are things, just a minute things, not a very big initiative or anything, but a minute thing can really make a large difference.
Thanks, Krishna. So thanks, Krishna and Pronob. I don't want to sum up now because we already spoken. Okay, but yeah, it's great point. Education is a long view, overpending, sector which is going virtually, and people. When I say people, in the sense ecosystem, which is university, institute, faculty, staff, teachers, everybody need to gear up, including student as well. So I pause here, hand over to Astha for a closing thing.